one of the advantages of being in this community and plugged in is I get to meet the best of the best of the best. And I tell folks, one of my favorite, most fun friends that I've ever had and met is a guy named Mark Neilson. Mark is a recovering CFO, he likes to say. He's visionary. He's also extremely plugged into the community. He has raised, I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars riding his bike to raise money for MS Society, right? I was going to say not muscular dystrophy, but I knew it was something close to that. And so if there's some folks that need help, if there's some organizations, not-for-profits that need some clever ideas, you don't have to look too far, but probably Mark Neilson's back behind there somewhere trying to help them out and make a difference in their lives. And he's going to share some of that today. So Mark, please come up and share with us. Mark Neilson of Appreciate. Take it away, Mark.
This is the part of the program where if you don't like wearing jackets, you take them off. So that's everybody. So.
Mark, your shoulder's a little stiff here. What happened, friend?
My shoulder? Oh, I had a bike accident in December, self-inflicted. I should have been looking over here for some bad pavement, but I was looking over there, and next thing you know, I was licking the sidewalk. So anyways, little shoulder surgery. But
the price of being philanthropic and getting and helping out. You know,
yeah, that's it.
No pain, no gain, right?
Exactly, right. I've been told to keep my pitch count under 1. So actually, before I dive into kind of what we do, I'm going to kind of warm me up with a couple other little thoughts here. And I want to talk to you about the astronomical ROI of curiosity. So it turns out curiosity may be one of the most important attributes that any of us have. In fact, everything in our lives wouldn't exist, not just technology stuff, but lots of stuff wouldn't exist if somebody somewhere wasn't curious to say, I wonder if. And yet oftentimes curiosity is something that we lose, whether it's overall, but particularly we lose it maybe on particular topics. When we get really smart about something, it's really hard to engage with us because we already know all that, right? Like if we start talking about the Cubs, for example, Damien, you're not going to find any curiosity in me because I already know everything there is to know about the Cubs. So just to kind of take that a little further, here's what I think every organization, for-profit, not-for-profit, government, education, I don't care what entity an organization is in, the pursuit, whatever we're talking about, whatever category, in my business it's about operating costs, but it really doesn't matter what category, our pursuit is for current best practices. Scott's a new Vistage chair, so he's going to be facilitating, helping all of his members find this. Current best practices. Those are the magic words for everything in organizations that we should be pursuing. And of course, it's not a destination, it's a journey, right? So part of what you hear from others today, RJ, Steve, is the pursuit of current best practices. We'll talk more about that. Any argument with that that's really the golden goose of any organization is to try to reach that level with everything you do? You never get there, right? Okay, so I'm going to switch gears, talk about the 2 most expensive things in business. Since I'm in the cost-saving business, what I did about 9 years ago is I stopped being a CFO, and my partners and I started a business that organized all the cost-saving firms out there, and we vet them and find out who does what. And we're kind of, lack of a better comparison, the Angie's List or Home Advisor of the cost-saving industry. So we're the hub, and all the spokes are already there. So people have CFOs, ex-CFOs like us, look at their business and find ways we can save them money by pursuing current best practices. Turns out these are actually the 2 most expensive things on everyone's P&L. Your organization, mine, and everybody we know. Too busy. Now you're not going to find these on the P&L anywhere, right? So we'll unpack too busy in a second here. And then too smart. This is a tough one too. Too busy doesn't even get the game started. I don't have time to meet with you. I don't have time to learn about that. I don't have time to listen. Now I'm preaching to the choir because you're all here, okay? The people that are not here, we're too busy, right? Or maybe they already knew all these topics. So too smart is when our ego kicks in. We all got one. We wouldn't have gotten out of bed this morning if we didn't have an ego, right? Because if someone out there needs you, then you got to get up and go be part of the world. So ego's not a bad thing. It's only when it gets in the way of something else. So let's talk about too busy. How does that show up and why is it so expensive? This applies to every single one of us, okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because these are the obstacles to what my business does, which is save people money, and we get paid out of those savings, so there's really a no-brainer. It doesn't cost them anything to find out if they got savings, and if this is what we find out. Our people are tied up with unimportant tasks, right? They can't be bothered with high ROI ideas, right? When am I supposed to do that, boss, right? Am I supposed to put that above something else? Well, perhaps. They might need your help with that, right? And some people don't prioritize well, right? They're busy working on $1 stuff and they're stepping over $1,000 stuff in the hallway, right? Some people think busyness is a really good thing. We call each other and say, how's it going, Damien? I'm busy. And we say, oh, good. So we applaud busyness, right? You can say, I'm very busy. Very busy isn't good or bad. It just is. Too busy is a confession, right? Because it means I'm too busy doing whatever to be doing something that's probably more important. I just said it myself, but I only said 2 words. I'm too busy. Okay? And some people think that's a very great thing. I'm a busy person. Ha, and you're not. Okay? And also, if it's not my idea, I'm not going to embrace it. So these are just some of the ways, right, that too busy shows up in our conversations with ourselves or our conversations with our colleagues. By the way, I love this. If you ever want something to make a point to somebody, just Google caveman clip art. And then whatever topic, in this case, too busy, and you'll find something simple like this. Here's a guy who's got the solution, and these guys are too busy hauling a cart full of rocks up a hill with square wheels. We're too busy. So this is actually sad but true, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about too smart. How does that show up? Okay? Lacking the curiosity to consider new ideas. Okay? You get the Heisman, right? It won't work. I already did that. I heard a company say, oh, we put in best practices 3 years ago. I'm wondering if anything changed in the meantime. So it wasn't invented here, right? Now that's not said. People don't necessarily say these things, but this is the attitude that we get. These are the things that block new ideas, some of which you're going to hear about in a minute, from coming into your business, right? And then some people say, I'll get to it with the hopes that you'll forget about it, right? And maybe you won't bring it back up. So, and it is the old, if it ain't broke, why are we looking at it, right? None of these things help us in the pursuit of current best practices. Am I right? Yet these are things that we say ourselves, let's be honest, these are things that we tolerate from those around us, and too busy and too smart are by far the most expensive things in our organizations, and they don't show up on a P&L. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. So hopefully one of the takeaways you'll have from this little chat is, what are you going to do about too busy and too smart, not only in your colleagues, but in yourself? Hey, I'm not innocent. Okay, so switching gears again, I'm going to give you the best question in business with your vendors, your trusted advisors that nobody ever asks. I know this. I'm a Vistage speaker, and when I ask CEOs, when they go out on customer calls, and I'll ask any of you that go on customer calls, if your customers ever ask you this, Steve, do your customers ever ask you how they can be a better client? Not so much. You can't remember one? It's very rare, if ever, that anybody ever asks this question, but it may be the best question you can ask of your suppliers, vendors, and advisors, whatever category you want to put people in. That question is worth a lot of money, and I suggest you do exactly what she's doing, is take a picture of it or write it down or something. How can I be a better client? ... And maybe could you help us save some money if we listen to you more? Wouldn't you love that question to be asked, any of those who are advisors? Right? Jeremy, when you go out on sales calls, which I know you do, anybody ever ask you that question? No. But that's the question. Huh? You want that conversation, but it's hard to get it started when you're the vendor. So if nobody's asking you that question, what are the chances that your people in procurement and finance are asking your suppliers and advisors that question? Right? Because you're basically saying, listen, save me some money, but I'm probably the problem. Okay, so now a little bit about what Accretive does. We're in the found money business, okay? We don't charge for, we're called resultants. We get paid out of the savings that we generate by looking at a bunch of areas in a company's P&L. We never look at jobs. We never look at product costs. That's management's job. So we stay away from that. Everything else is fair game. They pick a few areas. We bring in the subject matter experts who do save them the money on a percentage of savings basis, and we participate in that. And there's a lot of reasons to save money because every organization, mine, yours, and everybody we know is accidentally wasting money in any number of areas, okay? Because they don't know what the current best practices are. There's always a gap, whether it's a little or a lot, between what you're doing in any particular area and what the current best practices are. If you're naive enough to think that you have current best practices in everything you're doing, then your curiosity has died, okay? And there's a lot of good reasons to find some money, right? Because there's things in your inbox, there's things on your wish list, things that your organization wants to do, or your clients' organizations, that they're not doing because it's not in our budget. We don't have the money. They do have the money. They just don't know it. And our model is a revenue sharing pie, so us and our experts get it shared. Not-for-profits get a share. We'll talk more about that in a second. This is a busy grid. This is like a heat map of all the things we look at. You won't find jobs on here. You won't find product costs, but you find a bunch of other stuff. And so the blue things are great. Could be some tax refunds are fun, right, Steve? Small parcel, other things, the blue stuff. So I won't get into that too deeply other than it's a bit of a heat map. We know where to look, and so we'll help a company pick a handful of these things, and we'll bring in the experts, all of whom get paid on a percentage of savings, so there's no downside. And we're the generalists. We're the facilitators of this grid of cost-saving buckets, okay? So here's the fun part, and RJ talked a little bit about this earlier. How can we take this cool thing where we always find savings, we just don't always find people who are not too busy or too smart to let us. So this is an example. I don't know if you can see the numbers, but you've got screens around you, so if you can't see this one, look behind you. These are a couple of junior achievement board members who said, sure, why not? Let's try this thing out. We saved them between them about 400 grand. They kept 73% of it, and JA ended up with 35,000. We always end up with the smallest slice of the pie. But the beauty of this is, and the reason we call it fundraising, is nobody ever asks these companies for money. They ask for a percentage of what might be saved. So we're into the several hundreds of thousands of dollars with a goal of $1 million or more.
Hey Mark, just can we point out that that's $400,000 per year?
Right.
That's not a one-time thing. That's on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. So the organizations always win. Those of you who donate money as companies know that you get some goodwill in return, but you're giving money, and the economic is a win-lose, okay? This is a win-win-win. So there's no downside to this, and more nonprofits are embracing this. We've worked with some name brands that you've heard of, like JA, MS Society, Ronald McDonald House, and a number of others, and some you haven't heard of, too. So it's kind of a thing that's catching on. This is another one. This is a United Way. This is actually in Indiana. Bigger numbers, this is up to about $1 million in savings now and about 100,000 for United Way. But it's the same idea because everybody that benefited, starting with the company, gave money back to the nonprofit. So it's just coming from found money, okay? These are some rah-rahs. The Business Journal likes this. There's a United Way award. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this up, but I want to circle back to my original point. Curiosity is incredibly valuable. Everything I Googled on curiosity quotes, about 3/4 of them were by Albert Einstein. So he had a lot to say about curiosity. Pretty sure he was a curious kind of person, right? Didn't have time to comb his hair. So, so my question for you is, what could be the ROI of your own curiosity? It doesn't have to be just in cost savings, stuff our firm could do for you, help your company as well as help nonprofits. But what other types of areas has your curiosity died? So this is something we all have to look in the mirror and say, yeah, you know what? I've let some of my curiosity die on this. I'm the one saying, I've already looked at that. I know enough about that. I don't need to listen. I'm not suggesting you chase every butterfly that comes into the room, okay? Not that kind of crazy curiosity, but healthy curiosity. Most valuable thing that we all have. Thoughts, questions? Good. Steve.
Mark, I want you to touch base real quick. When I bring you in on a case, which I love having you there, but when I bring you in on a case and you find money, because again, you're not charging a fee to do the analysis, you're looking usually for the 5 or 6 quick wins, as we call it. But one of the things you do is you say to them, look, let's help you save some money, let's have more money coming to the bottom line, but if you're willing to donate some of that found savings, money you're already spending, if you're willing to donate some of that money to your favorite charities, not ours,
not mine,
yours,
right.
What do? You have a really nice, attractive way of matching.
Yeah, we
part of
also participate in that. So we always give 15% of all of our revenues because we're a revenue sharing model, so we can cut out big slices like that back to the same nonprofit. And any of those subject matter experts, they'll give back 10% too. So you may have seen on that chart with the numbers on it that everybody involved in saving that organization money is giving back because it's all coming from the same pie of savings. So it's kind of a, abundance mentality. So, but we ask for a commitment. In fact, that's why a lot of nonprofits actually walk us in the door. So if you're involved with nonprofits that you want to be a hero, let's talk to them because I'm going to bring them 100 or 200,000 bucks by saving the companies around them money. So board members are the heroes because most of us can't write checks that big, but you can facilitate an outcome like that. That's a pretty good thing.
Are you only in San Diego?
We're based here. We also have Midwest. And we also do stretch beyond, but we typically Southern California and Great Lakes area for the moment. We do have clients kind of outside of that, but it's a very personal business because you got to look people in the eye.